The average day today is saturated with noise. Notifications chime before our feet hit the ground. News headlines warn of crisis. People expect quick replies, flawless productivity, and endless emotional availability. And if we can't control it all, our schedule, their mood, the economy, our own impulses, we're seen as lazy, weak, or falling behind. Modern life rewards the illusion of control. We build calendars and task lists. We monitor our health stats. We swipe left or right on relationships. We talk about owning the moment, crushing goals, and manifesting results. It all sounds empowering until life fails to cooperate. A friend betrays you. A job offer evaporates. A diagnosis arrives uninvited. Then the self-help slogans feel cruel. The illusion cracks. Here, Stoicism offers a life-saving distinction. There are two realms in existence. One belongs to you. The other never did. This simple yet powerful filter, what's within your control versus what isn't, is a practical, soul-saving truth. Not ancient wisdom for ivory towers, not abstract metaphysics. It's a daily decision-making framework, a map to sanity. This essay is for those who are tired of wasting energy on the uncontrollable. Other people's reactions, outcomes, opinions, weather, the past, the future. It's for anyone who has suffered anxiety, burnout, bitterness, or shame from trying to run the world instead of leading their own mind. It's for people who want peace, not through passivity, but through power rightly applied. Over the next chapters, we will strip away the clutter of modern confusion and explore with brutal honesty what you can actually influence. You'll learn how to notice when you're chasing the uncontrollable, how to choose focus like a weapon, not a wish, why your inner dialogue is your real environment, how to feel emotions fully without surrendering to them, why letting go is not weakness, but psychological discipline, what it actually means to show up in your own life. There's no theory here without use, no fluff, just clear thinking, deliberate focus, and tools for life's storm. Because life is a storm. You are the one who can hold the wheel or let go and drift, but only if you're clear about what's really yours to steer. Let's begin by examining the gap between control and chaos, and how to close it, not by reaching outward, but by coming home to your own mind. We wake up every morning to a world already in motion. Emails we didn't write, weather we didn't choose, bodies we didn't fully design. Before we even sip our coffee, we're inside a complex machine of cause and effect, randomness, and intention. Yet somewhere in that system is a small island of power. Ours. The problem? Most people either try to control everything or give up on controlling anything. This is what we'll call the control gap, the psychological no man's land between what happens to you and how you respond. This is the space where Stoicism lives. It's the gap between chaos and responsibility, and most people never learn to live there. Life happens with or without your approval. You can't stop the rain. You can't stop aging. You can't make someone love you. You can't force a company to hire you. You can't prevent all misunderstandings, bad luck, or tragic events. Most of the world runs without consulting you. If this feels unfair, good, that means you're human. But Stoicism doesn't ask you to like it. It asks you to accept it. Why? Because complaining about gravity doesn't make you float. Because hating the rules doesn't stop the game. Because denying the world doesn't reshape it. It just weakens your ability to live in it. This is not defeatism. It's accuracy. Here's where most people get confused. Just because you're responsible doesn't mean you're in control. You're responsible for how you handle bad news, but you don't control whether it comes. You're responsible for how you treat someone who's rude to you, but you don't control their attitude. You're responsible for your effort in a job interview, but you don't control the final decision. This is the Stoic move. Own the response, release the result. When we conflate responsibility with control, we suffer. We try to predict everything, micromanage everyone, and pre-engineer outcomes. This leads to perfectionism, anxiety, resentment, and paralysis. When we separate the two, we become powerful. We act with focus, not desperation. We speak truthfully, not manipulatively. We prepare for challenges, but don't panic over outcomes. The 4 zones of influence. Let's make this practical. Every event or challenge in your life can be placed into 4 zones. 1. Direct control. These are your actions, words, mindset, choices. 2. Influence only. These are things you can shape indirectly, like someone's opinion or a team project. 3. No control. These include the past, weather, traffic, aging, random luck, illusions of control. These are traps, like obsessing over how you're perceived or believing you can avoid pain forever. A Stoic spends most of their attention in Zone 1, some energy in Zone 2, 0 in Zone 3 and 4. Example, you're about to give a speech. Zone 1, you can prepare thoroughly, speak clearly, and stay calm. Zone 2, you may influence the audience's attention with a strong opening. Zone 3, you cannot control who will agree or who finds it boring. Zone 4, if you obsess about going viral or being flawless, you'll suffer. The key is not perfection, it's awareness. Every situation is asking you, which part of this is mine? Which part is not? That question is a superpower. Energy leak, the cost of ignoring the gap. When you try to control things outside of your reach, you burn mental energy on things that don't give a return. This is called energy leak. Worrying about outcomes you can't affect? Leak. Ruminating over what someone thinks of you? Leak. Replaying old mistakes with no intention to learn? Leak. Stressing over future what-ifs without preparing for the present? Leak. If your brain was a battery, most people spend 70% of their charge on what they can't change. No wonder we're tired, anxious, and reactive. Stoicism doesn't refill the battery. It stops the drain. Ask yourself, where do I lose most of my mental energy? Is it on things I can actually affect? Or am I bleeding focus into the void? The freedom equation. Here's the core Stoic formula we'll return to again and again. Freedom, trias, clarity, X, discipline. Clarity, knowing exactly what is within your control. Discipline, acting only where that control lives. You can't control other people, but you can control how you speak to them. You can't control your anxiety, but you can control what you do when it shows up. You can't control what the world gives you, but you can control what you give back. This is power, not over others, but over yourself. And it is the only real power that no one can take from you. The average person believes their mood is in charge. If they feel angry, they lash out. If they feel anxious, they withdraw. If they feel insulted, they retaliate. In this mindset, emotions are not just signals, they are commands. But this is a dangerous way to live, and it's precisely where Stoicism draws a hard line. You cannot always control how you feel, but you can always control how you interpret, respond, and act. This is not about suppression, it's about authority. You are not your emotions. You are their host. Thoughts come first. The Stoic believes that emotion is not something that happens to you. It is something you participate in. It begins with a thought, an interpretation, or a judgment. For example, you don't get angry because someone insulted you. You get angry because you judged the insult as offensive and unfair. You don't get anxious because something bad is happening. You get anxious because you believe something bad might happen and you'll be powerless to stop it. You don't feel humiliated because you made a mistake. You feel humiliated because you assumed everyone is judging you. Remove or revise the interpretation, and the emotional storm changes or disappears entirely. This isn't denial. This is emotional architecture, learning how your internal house is built so you can live in it more wisely. Mood as weather, mind as climate. Mood is like weather. It changes quickly, often without warning, and doesn't always make sense. But climate, the underlying psychological pattern, is shaped by the habits of the mind. A Stoic doesn't try to banish emotions. That's not only impossible, it's unnatural. Instead, Stoics cultivate a healthy mental climate so that emotional storms don't destroy the foundation. The key habits that shape this climate are: 1. Daily reflection and self-inquiry. 2. Distancing from automatic thoughts. 3. Reframing negative interpretations. 4. Choosing intention over instinct. These habits don't eliminate emotion, they integrate it so that anger becomes courage, sadness becomes wisdom, and fear becomes alertness. Emotions are messengers, not masters. Every emotion carries a message, but that doesn't mean it's telling the truth. Anxiety might be saying, "This could go wrong." Anger might be saying, "I've been disrespected." Sadness might be saying, "Something valuable was lost." These signals deserve to be heard, but not obeyed blindly. A Stoic listens, decodes, and then decides. Emotion is information, not instruction. When you treat emotion as absolute truth, it becomes your master. When you treat it as useful input, it becomes your servant. This shift is not dramatic, it's subtle, but it changes everything. The power of the pause. In every emotional moment, there's a pause, even if only half a second, where you can intervene. That pause is the gateway to freedom. Someone insults you. Can you pause before reacting? You feel a panic attack rising. Can you pause and breathe? You receive bad news. Can you pause before catastrophizing? That pause is the wedge between stimulus and response. Stoics live inside that pause. They train for it. They protect it like sacred ground. It's not about pretending you're fine. It's about choosing how to respond. On purpose, not on autopilot. Watch the mind. Don't believe it blindly. One of the most powerful practices a Stoic uses is mental separation, observing your thoughts without fusing with them. You are not your thoughts. You're the one who sees them. You are not your panic. You are the one who notices the panic. This subtle distance creates space for control. It transforms emotional chaos into manageable signal. One modern technique that mirrors this Stoic principle is cognitive diffusion, the practice of seeing your thoughts as temporary, subjective mental events, not facts. Instead of saying, "I'm a failure," say, "I'm having the thought that I'm a failure." Instead of, "This will never work," say, "My mind is predicting this won't work." Language shapes reality. Watch it carefully. Emotional integrity versus emotional reactivity. Being emotionally healthy doesn't mean being emotionally dead. You can care deeply and still not fall apart. You can feel joy, pain, grief, and love without being enslaved by them. Emotional integrity means you tell the truth about how you feel, but you also know your feeling isn't the whole truth. You say, I'm angry, but you don't destroy people. You say, I'm scared, but you show up anyway. You say, I'm hurt, but you stay composed. This is real maturity, not the absence of emotion, but the authority to hold it responsibly. Practical tools for mind over mood. Here are a few simple Stoic-inspired tools you can use daily. 1. The 2-column technique. Column A. What am I feeling right now? Column B. What belief or story is feeding that emotion? This shows you where to intervene, not in the feeling, but in the belief. 2. Negative visualizations. Spend a few minutes imagining a realistic setback, not to depress yourself, but to build psychological immunity. When you imagine losing what you value, you increase gratitude, resilience, and calm. 3. The view from above. Mentally zoom out from your current situation. Imagine your life as a dot on the planet. Then pull back further, your city, your country, your continent, the earth. Eventually, your mind quiets. You see that your problems are real, but not ultimate. 4. Name it to tame it. When emotion hits, put words to it. Labeling your emotional state activates the prefrontal cortex and reduces limbic overdrive. It moves you from, I am overwhelmed, to, I notice I'm feeling overwhelmed. 5. Reframing. Ask, what else could this mean? Or, what would this look like from the outside? Reframing is not lying, it's choosing a different lens. The point is not to become unfeeling. The point is to become unfazed by the noise that doesn't deserve your full attention. The mind is your last safe house. If you lose it, everything else becomes vulnerable. If you master it, everything else becomes manageable. The Stoic doesn't numb the self. They discipline it. They don't reject emotion. They restructure it. They don't fear pain. They frame it. In a world that pushes you to react to everything, the Stoic reclaims the last word. I choose what this means to me. I choose how I move forward. Every conflict begins when we try to control something that doesn't belong to us. It could be someone else's opinion, their behavior, their decisions, the outcome of a situation, the pace of our progress, the timeline of healing. But these things, as real as they feel, do not live in our jurisdiction. They are across the wall. The Stoic builds an invisible wall, not to disconnect from the world, but to understand it. On one side, what belongs to you, your thoughts, decisions, values, attention, effort. On the other, what doesn't, everything else. This is the boundary of sanity. Respect it, and you experience peace. Violate it, and you suffer endlessly. The world beyond your reach. Let's define what doesn't belong to you. The actions of others, the past, the future, natural disasters, accidents, death, fame, praise or blame, rejection, approval, random chance, delays, timing, how others see you, the economy, the news. These are external. They are beyond the wall. They are not yours. This doesn't mean they don't affect you. They do. But affecting you is not the same as belonging to you. Once you recognize something is not yours, your job becomes simple. Stop trying to control it. The world that is yours. Now let's list what does belong to you, what you choose to focus on, how you speak, whether you tell the truth, how you handle adversity, your habits, your boundaries, your reactions, what you value, what you give your time to, what you believe, whether you keep your word, what you tolerate, how you treat others, your standards. These are yours. They live on your side of the wall. They are your responsibility, no excuses. You can't always change what happens, but you can always decide what role you play in it. That's where your power begins. Blurred boundaries are emotional poison. Suffering creeps in when we blur the boundary between the two worlds. You tell yourself, I should be able to make her understand. I have to fix this situation. If I try hard enough, I can make them change. No, you can't. Not always. And trying to will exhaust you, embitter you, or both. Your job is not to control others. It's to hold your ground, speak clearly, and walk away clean if needed. Your job is not to guarantee results. It's to do the right thing regardless of outcome. This is painful, yes, but not as painful as wasting your life chasing ghosts. Stop carrying what's not yours. Many people are secretly walking around with other people's problems on their back. Parents carrying the weight of their adult children's mistakes. Lovers trying to save people who won't save themselves. Leaders who confuse guilt with service. Friends who carry shame that isn't theirs. Here's the Stoic answer. If it's not yours, put it down. You can love people without rescuing them. You can care without controlling. You can help without bleeding. Detachment is not abandonment. It is clarity. It is knowing where you end and the other person begins. The wall is a filter, not a fortress. Let's be clear. Stoicism is not about cutting yourself off from life. It's about protecting your inner resources so you can engage life more effectively. The wall doesn't make you indifferent. It makes you wise. It doesn't make you selfish. It makes you selective. It doesn't numb your feelings. It frees them from illusion. Once you stop trying to own what was never yours, you finally have energy to manage what actually is. That energy is what most people lack because they're bleeding it into things they cannot touch. The wall helps you make decisions. Here's how the invisible wall helps you in everyday life. Scenario 1. A coworker gossips about you. Not yours. Their opinion, their behavior, others' reactions. Yours. How you respond, whether you engage, whether you stay respectful, whether you speak up. Scenario 2. You're ghosted after a promising date. Not yours. Their decision to disappear. Their communication skills. Yours. Whether you obsess, whether you chase, whether you let go with dignity. Scenario 3. A loved one refuses to take care of their health. Not yours. Their lifestyle choices, their denial. Yours. Whether you offer help, set boundaries, accept reality. You suffer less not because you care less, but because you no longer confuse influence with ownership. Detach from the outcome, not the effort. Effort is yours. Outcome is not. Train hard, but let go of whether you win. Study well, but let go of the exam score. Speak honestly, but let go of whether they agree. Apply for the job, but let go of whether they choose you. Love well, but let go of whether it lasts forever. This is not weakness. It is strategic surrender. It is refusing to bet your peace on an outcome you don't control. A Stoic never stops giving their best. They just stop expecting the world to bend in return. You don't owe your sanity to every situation. One of the greatest Stoic lessons is this. Just because something is happening doesn't mean you need to absorb it. You're allowed to witness dysfunction and stay functional. You're allowed to walk away. You're allowed to say, that's not mine. The wall gives you a shield, not from pain, but from unnecessary pain. Not from challenge, but from wasted struggle. Big events feel like they define your life. The job you get or lose, the relationship that begins or ends, the breakthrough or the breakdown. But the truth is, your life is shaped not by a few big moments, but by thousands of small decisions you make daily. That's where your real control lives, not in drama, not in destiny, but in micro-control. The everyday power to choose wisely, repeatedly. A Stoic doesn't wait for emergencies to practice strength. They train in the ordinary. You can't control the market, but you can control whether you check it every hour. You can't control if someone texts you back, but you can control whether you refresh your inbox 10 times. You can't control your long-term future, but you can control how you spend the next 10 minutes. That's micro-control. Control over what you say next, what you do with your body, what you put your attention on, what you believe about what's happening, whether you pause or react, whether you show up or avoid, whether you finish or quit. When you focus on the micro, the macro takes care of itself. Why the micro is overlooked. Big goals are sexy. Small steps are boring. That's why most people sabotage themselves. Not with huge mistakes, but with daily drift. They don't collapse from pressure. They dissolve from inconsistency. They look for hacks and shortcuts, but ignore the obvious. Drinking water instead of soda, saying no instead of people-pleasing, planning the day instead of waking up reactive, going to bed instead of doom-scrolling, journaling instead of spiraling, walking instead of sitting, pausing before sending that angry text. These are small, but they add up to who you are. Every choice is a vote. You're not building a perfect life. You're casting votes for the kind of person you want to be. Every time you show up early, you vote for reliability. Every time you ignore gossip, you vote for integrity. Every time you choose patience, you vote for composure. Every time you read instead of distract, you vote for growth. Every time you pause before reacting, you vote for wisdom. The ballot box is your daily life. The total count becomes your identity. Control your input. Accept the output. Most people live backwards. They obsess over output. What happens, how it looks, how it's received. But that's external. That's the part you can't own. The Stoic lives forward. Control your input, your intention, your effort, your system. Accept whatever output results, knowing you did your part. This works in every area. Work. Input. The hours you focus, the quality of your work, your communication. Output. Recognition, promotion, financial reward. Not fully up to you. Relationships. Input. Kindness, honesty, boundaries, presence. Output. How the other person responds, not in your hands. Health. Input. What you eat, how you move, how you rest. Output. Genetics, random illness, natural aging. Can't fully control it. Don't be passive. Give everything your best. But don't attach your worth to the result. Make the next good decision. One of the simplest Stoic tactics for chaos is this question. What's the next good decision I can make? You don't need to fix your whole life right now. You just need to choose the next strong move. Drink water instead of another coffee. Speak clearly instead of stewing in resentment. Walk away instead of escalating. Focus on the task instead of opening social media. Tell the truth instead of decorating a lie. Start the workout instead of overthinking it. Don't ask if it's dramatic or impressive. Ask if it's solid. Stack enough of those and your life becomes a fortress. Routine. control on autopilot. Routines aren't boring. They are freedom in disguise. Most people burn energy deciding, should I work out today? Should I meditate today? Should I eat well today? The Stoic eliminates that drain with habits. The question becomes, I already decided, now I just do. Good routines are the autopilot of the wise. They save discipline for what matters. They reduce friction. They anchor you to intention. They give your emotions less room to hijack the day. If you can master the first hour of your day and the last hour of your night, you can handle almost anything that happens in between. Attention, the currency of control. In a distracted world, attention is your most limited resource. That's why every platform wants it. That's why you have to guard it. Where you place your attention is where your energy flows. It's what grows. It's what shapes your mood and decisions. Ask yourself, am I feeding my fears or my focus? Am I reacting to noise or responding to purpose? Is this information making me better or just more anxious? The Stoic is not indifferent. They're selective. They don't consume everything. They choose wisely. You become what you pay attention to. 5 micro-control exercises you can use today. 1. The next 5 minutes rule. Ask, what's the best thing I can do in the next 5 minutes? Then do it without debating, perfecting, or delaying. 2. The mental reset button. When you feel overwhelmed or emotionally hijacked, pause, breathe, ask, what's one controllable thing I can do right now to shift my direction? 3. Focus anchor. Pick a daily anchor, something simple and solid, journaling, stretching, deep breathing, walking. No matter how the day goes, return to it. It grounds you. The input tracker. For one day, ignore outcomes. Track only your effort. Time spent on focus, movement, calm, meaningful work, good conversation. Let results sort themselves out. The less but better rule. Cut one low-value behavior, doom scrolling, complaining, snacking, and replace it with something small but meaningful. Not to optimize, but to regain ownership of your life. Everyone has a plan until life punches them in the face. That punch can come in the form of illness, betrayal, failure, loss, financial ruin, or just a long stretch of feeling stuck. And in those moments, one question rises. Can I hold my ground? Not physically, not even publicly, but internally, in the privacy of your mind. That's where the Stoic's true strength lives, in the inner fortress. This fortress is not built with denial or false optimism. It is built with realism, discipline, clarity, and core values that don't evaporate when the storm hits. Adversity is not optional. Response is. A Stoic never pretends that life is easy. In fact, Stoicism assumes the opposite. You will face hardship. You will lose people. You will be misunderstood. You will fail at things you care about. You will watch others succeed unfairly. You will get sick. You will be disappointed. These are not if, but when. So the question is not, will adversity come? It's, will I be ready when it does? Your fortress is built before the storm. You don't build a shelter in the middle of a hurricane. You build it ahead of time. The same is true for resilience. Your ability to withstand chaos is a function of what you've practiced in calm moments. Have you learned to pause instead of react? Have you trained yourself to observe thoughts, not obey them? Have you chosen values that aren't dependent on external success? Have you practiced gratitude even when things are imperfect? Have you done hard things voluntarily so you're not shocked when life is hard involuntarily. The stronger your mental habits, the less you need life to go your way in order to stay grounded. Pain is real, but it doesn't have to be wasteful. There's a difference between pain and suffering. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is pain plus resistance, rumination, or resentment. You lose your job, that's pain. You tell yourself you're worthless, that's suffering. You go through a breakup, that's pain. You check their social media every night, that's suffering. The Stoic accepts pain as a signal, a teacher, a condition of being alive, but they refuse to decorate it with mental graffiti. They ask, what can this teach me? Not, why is this happening to me? They turn wounds into wisdom. Endurance is not the same as suppression. Stoicism is not about pretending nothing hurts. It's about letting pain pass through you without turning you bitter, helpless, or delusional. You don't bottle it up, you bear it. And sometimes bearing it looks like speaking to someone, even if you don't want to. Admitting you're struggling, even if you're proud. Letting go of a fantasy about how life should be. Sitting with your sadness without rushing to escape it. Taking the next step, even when you don't feel ready. Courage isn't loud. Sometimes it's quiet persistence, continuing on with cracked armor and sore feet. Adversity clarifies what comfort blurs. Adversity is a ruthless filter. It strips away illusion, comfort, ego, and fantasy. It shows you who actually supports you, what you really believe, what your time is worth, what isn't worth the fight, what you've been avoiding, what you're capable of. Comfort is fine, but it's often a fog. Adversity is clear, sharp, and defining. It doesn't ask who you want to be. It shows you who you are. And that truth, even when it hurts, is a gift. Fortify the core, not the castle. You can lose the house, you can lose the job, you can lose the relationship, you can lose your money, you can lose your health. If your identity is wrapped around those things, you lose yourself with them. The Stoics answer, build a life where the core can't be taken. What can't be taken? Your ability to choose your response, your self-respect, your integrity, your effort, your reason, your beliefs, your commitment to virtue, your ability to start again. That's the inner fortress, not made of stone, but of standards, not located anywhere, but alive within you. What Stoic resilience looks like in practice. Resilience is not magical thinking, it's practical. Here's how it shows up. 1. A calm conversation during a crisis. You don't escalate. You speak clearly. You hold your tone. People feel your composure. 2. Showing up despite fear. You go to the interview. You make the call. You send the email. You risk rejection, not because you're unafraid, but because you've decided courage matters more. 3. Taking responsibility. You don't make excuses. You own your part, even if others don't. You correct the course without shaming yourself. 4. Holding the long view. You don't panic over setbacks. You zoom out. You remember, this moment is not the whole story. 5. Letting go cleanly. You don't chase what isn't chasing you. You don't cling, you grieve, then you walk forward, not because it's easy, but because it's time. The fortress is quiet, not loud. In a culture that celebrates drama and breakdowns, Stoic resilience is quiet. It doesn't seek attention. It doesn't beg for validation. It doesn't demand an audience. It just holds, stands, endures, moves forward. It says, this will not undo me, even if it hurts, even if it's unfair, even if no one understands. That's not numbness. That's discipline. That's choosing your power again and again. Summary of this section. Life will challenge you. That's not negotiable. Pain is real, but suffering is often optional. Build the inner fortress before you need it. Focus on what cannot be taken. Real resilience is quiet, steady, and earned. You're holding on too tight. Not physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You're gripping a story, a plan, a grudge, a fantasy, a person, a version of yourself that no longer exists. And it's not working. You're exhausted, angry, anxious, confused. Not because of the situation, but because of the tension inside you, because you're refusing to let go. This section is about psychological surrender, not quitting, not giving up, but choosing to release what you were never meant to control. It's not weak. It's not lazy. It's a form of power, the power to free yourself. The more you cling, the more you suffer. Attachment is normal, but when it becomes rigid, when we demand that things go our way, suffering multiplies. You cling to a specific outcome, and you panic when it doesn't happen. You cling to someone's love, and you fall apart when they pull away. You cling to being understood, and you rage when you're misjudged. You cling to an identity, and you break when life forces you to evolve. This clinging becomes a rope around your neck. The Stoic answer? Let go, or be dragged. Dragged through rumination, dragged through bitterness, dragged through pointless resistance, dragged through endless internal conflict. The wise man knows when to hold and when to release. Surrender is not apathy. Let's clarify something. Surrender is not apathy. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you stop acting. It doesn't mean you accept injustice. It means you stop forcing. You stop pretending you control the uncontrollable. You stop resisting reality as it is. You start acting from clarity, not compulsion. You say, I gave my best. Now, I release the rest. This is not passivity. It's active alignment with what is, instead of fighting what isn't. The most common forms of attachment. Here are 5 things people cling to the most, and how they create suffering. 1. Attachment to certainty. You want a guarantee. You want to know what's going to happen. But life doesn't do guarantees. The more you chase certainty, the more anxious you become. The Stoic lets go of certainty and chooses preparation instead. Let me be ready for anything. 2. Attachment to control. You want things to go your way. You want people to act how you expect. But the more you grip, the more they slip. The Stoic doesn't control people. They control their standards and boundaries. 3rd, attachment to outcome. You worked hard, so you should succeed. You were kind, so they should stay. You did everything right, so it should have worked. But life doesn't work like a vending machine. The Stoic detaches from outcome and focuses on effort plus virtue. 4th, attachment to identity. I'm the strong one. I never fail. I'm always in control. These labels become cages. The Stoic lets identity be flexible, built on actions, not ego. 5. Attachment to the past. They hurt you. You failed. You missed a chance. But no amount of reliving it changes it. The Stoic learns, accepts, and returns to the present. Releasing doesn't always feel good. At first, letting go can feel like loss. You lose the illusion that you could have fixed it. You lose the fantasy of what could have been. You lose the comfort of blame, but what you gain is worth it. You gain energy. You gain peace. You gain focus. You gain clarity. You start moving forward instead of orbiting old pain. Psychological surrender in action. Let's break this down into something usable. Here's how you practice Stoic surrender. 1. Name the tension. Ask, what am I gripping right now? It could be a person, a hope, a need to be right, a fear, a plan. Be honest. 2. Identify what's yours and what isn't. Use the invisible wall. What's your job here? What isn't? Example, you applied for a job. Yours equals preparation, application, not yours equals decision. Let go of the decision. 3. Release the fantasy. Stop clinging to the ideal version of how this should have gone. Accept what's real, even if it's not what you wanted, especially then. 4th, anchor to values, not outcomes. Return to your principles: honesty, composure, courage, discipline, presence. These don't need external permission. 5. Shift your focus forward. Ask, now that I've let go, what's the next right move I can make? Move in that direction. That's the new path. Why letting go scares people. People resist letting go because they think it means admitting failure. They think it means losing control. They think it means becoming numb. They think it means accepting injustice. But none of that is true. Letting go is an act of maturity, not weakness. It says, I'm not in charge of the world, just myself. I don't need to control everything to live with dignity. I don't need closure from others to give it to myself. It's self-respect in action. What you free yourself from when you let go, you free yourself from the prison of expectations, the poison of resentment, the loop of rumination, the trap of perfectionism, the illusion of control, the fear of uncertainty, the need to be understood by everyone, the shame of failure. That's real freedom. Not everything going your way, but you being okay either way.